tonight I will conclude the book of James. So next week will be Q&A. Okay, so next week come prepared with your questions. So our teaching will be based on your questions next week. So let's start on James 5 verse 12. We're talking about how to live a life of faith on practical daily situation. And the last we were discussing was Job, how through perseverance and patience, he was able to receive back what was lost twice at least. And I was mentioning, I think, that the Bible says you should store up your treasures in heaven where thieves cannot steal and moth and rust cannot destroy. And so basically from the outside, it looks like Job, somebody had stolen from him and things were taken from him. But it wasn't even, if you look at the dialogue, well, first monologue, but if you look at the dialogue between Job and God, that was not even mentioned. The one who mentioned it actually were the ungodly friends of Job. But Job never mentioned it to the Lord. I lost my house. I lost my children. He never mentioned it. It is a surprising thing to me when his wife came with her complaint. He rebuked his wife and called her a wicked woman, because Job has a faith perspective in what he has, and at the end, whatever the devil stole from him was restored to him at least twofold. Now that is a very powerful application of faith. If we know, and I keep bringing back to you what Oral Roberts said, he said faith is like a tool in a mechanic's hand. I'm still probing on what that means, but faith in the scriptures is something. Use your faith. If you have faith, you can. It's just like if you have money, you can buy that. What God is saying is if you have faith, you can have this. So it's like faith is a spiritual currency that if you know how to use it, there is nothing that is impossible to him who believes. That's how powerful this currency is. And I mentioned, because this is the conclusion, that actually on the last chapter, James was going back to his original thoughts and just putting it back together. The last point before going to prayer is taming your tongue in James 5 verse 12. Above all, my brothers and sisters, do not swear either by heaven or by earth or with any other oath, but let your yes mean yes and your no mean no, so that you won't fall under judgment. Listen, words matter. Say it with me. Words matter. Say it again. Say it once more. If words matter, you have to be mindful of what you allow to come out of your lips. Now listen, most Christians are guilty of this. We say, oh my God. Why do we say that? We modify that. We say, oh my gosh. Dr. Charles Harris, one of my professors, said, oh my gosh is actually coming from, oh, Holy Ghost, something like that. So we are using the name of the Lord our God in vain. And Christians are guilty of that. And some Christians, I heard from some congregants here say, I swear to God. That is so wrong. That is actually using the name of the Lord God in vain. And so you know, the Catholics, when I was Catholic at least, they will say, Sos Maria Josep. You know, so that is adulteration, because only Jesus, Maria, Josep. I mean, Maria and Jose are not gods, but only Jesus is. You know, but even then, and sometimes when we are very angry, we say, Jesus Christ. That is using the name of the Lord your God in vain. Now, if you're going to live by faith, you have to sanctify, and the Bible is very clear about this. You have to sanctify or separate or count it holy, the name of the Lord. And a lot of Christians are guilty of not sanctifying the name of the Lord. You know, even in my house, my kids will sometimes, because, again, I told you, most people don't think. You see a superstar say this, and you copy it. You know, that is a signal of an unthinking person. And so when a popular person uses the phrase, oh my gosh, everybody's saying, oh my gosh. You know, when I first came to America, the Filipinos, at least in Hawaii, and I wish nobody in Hawaii is watching this, you know, but they love English expressions, gonna. You know, I'm going to do it. You're going to go there. They like the word gonna. They're not even Africans, you know. But they always use that. And I was wondering, why do they keep... And at first, it sounds okay to me, but everybody is gonna, you know. Just, and I realized almost all Filipinos in Hawaii use that phrase. Everybody is copying from everybody. You will notice that if a popular person on television uses a phrase, everybody is using the phrase. Even, who's this? Peyton, the quarterback, Peyton Manning, you know. You know how when you can use, how do you call it when a person can use the right and the left hand? Ambidextrous, yeah? I know he went to school, but he was trying to say ambidextrous, and he says, you know, I can use both of my hands. I said, I'm amphibious. I said, you know, by the way, I don't watch regular, I watch the highlights on YouTube, because then I can just simply skip all the nonsense, you know. So I rewind it. He really said, I'm amphibious. Oh, he's a frog, you know, something like that. But he is just trying. For example, when people start using the phrase, the two words per se, everybody is saying per se. You know, they don't even know what that means, because everybody is saying it. And so we have to be very careful that when we use a term, we know exactly. Something great happens. That's incredible. You know what incredible means? It's not credible. What? You just made that? That's not credible. That's what it means. But why do we use the term incredible? Because everybody is using incredible. You're a Christian, you're doing something great, and somebody says, fantastic. You know what fantastic means? Fantasy. But we don't even think that way, because we have not disciplined our mind. Our minds are not renewed. If words matter, you have to tame your tongue and learn how to control the words that are coming out of your lips. Now, by the way, a lot of fights goes like that. Don't say that. And then they will say that. They can't control their tongue, you know. We have to have the ability to contain ourselves and say, I will control what comes out of my lips. And here it says, let your yes be yes and your no be no. I guess, especially among Asians, we are guilty of this. If somebody asks us for a favor without even thinking, we immediately say yes, but we don't mean yes. Hey, are you going to go to my party? Yes. And then he will come up with reasons why he cannot go to the party. But it seems like the standard answer should be yes, so that you will not hurt their feelings. But you hurt them anyways because you don't show up, you know. Meaning, if you will apply it in James, if you enter into a contract or an agreement, honor that contract. Yeah. Now, when I say that, in the ancient times, most contracts are not written. Okay? They are based, that's why the taming your tongue becomes very important. They are based on the word of honor. The accompanying term for that is it is based on integrity. Your word is your bond. Okay? Can you imagine if Christians will tame their tongue and their yes will be yes, their no will be no? We will accomplish a lot. And we will be doing a lot. You know, that's one of the reasons why I decided if people want to be saved or want to believe, they should listen to the word and just believe it. Because you give an altar call, people start looking around who is going down. Somebody goes, everybody goes. But they don't mean it. You know, I give my life to Jesus. Did you? Did you really give your life to Jesus? Then how come there is no accompanying lifestyle? Because your yes is not yes and your no is not no. The Bible says anything beyond this is subject to the judgment of the judge of all the earth. We may overlook what we are saying. The judge of all the earth does not. You will be judged, we will be judged for all the words that are coming out of our lips. Okay? So when you say, Lord, I give my life to you, it should have been given. Lord, I will serve you for the rest of my life. That is already a yes. You should live up to it. That's taming the tongue. When you begin to be a man of your word and you tame your tongue, according to the scriptures, then your faith will work even better. That's one of the ways by which we use it as a tool. I say this before when I'm teaching about families. The reason why our kids become very undisciplined, because we are toothless tigers. We say something and there is no power behind it. We don't really mean it. You know, it's just being a toothless tiger. Our children will know that. And when they know that, then they don't listen to our words anymore because our yes is not yes and our no is not no. Okay? Let's move on. I want to finish this. Let's go to Elijah's prayer, okay? Verse 13 to the end of the chapter. Is anyone among you suffering? Remember, we discussed the subject of suffering earlier on. He should pray. Is anyone cheerful? He should sing praises. Is anyone among you sick? He should call for the elders of the church, and they are to pray over him, anointing him with oil in the name of the Lord. This is the biggest section here. The prayer of faith will save the sick person, and the Lord will raise him up. If he has committed sins, he will be forgiven. Now look at this. All of these scenario started with, is anyone among you? Now, let's begin with the first one. Is anyone among you suffering? Are all Christians suffering? That's the question. Are all Christians suffering? No. Therefore, all of this scenario indicates that not everybody is experiencing it. Or he was just saying, if, just in case somebody is suffering, just in case somebody is cheerful, just in case somebody is sick. Suffering, cheerful, sick. Verse 16. Therefore, confess your sins, after mentioning those three, suffering, cheerful, sick. Therefore, confess your sins to one another and pray for one another so that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person is very powerful in its effect. King James Version is the effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. Elijah, now after discussing that, is verse 17. Elijah was a human being as we are. And he prayed earnestly that it would not rain. So Elijah did not say, Lord, don't let it rain. He prayed earnestly. I don't know how long. And for 3 years and 6 months, it did not rain on the land. This is a sustained miracle. Through the operation of faith. Now, 3 years. You know, we are amazed at the miracle of the splitting of the Red Sea. Few hours. We are amazed at the splitting of the Jordan. Few hours. We are amazed in the valley of Ashkelon when Joshua commanded the sun and the moon to stop to command the earth basically in its orbit. Few hours. This is 3 years. People overlook the operation of faith that Elijah, and by the way, I am not so sure it's the gift of faith. Because he prayed earnestly. He used his faith and said, God, according to your word that you command me to declare, I don't want rain to fall on the face of this land for 3 years. Now, of course, the other portions of the land that is outside of Israel, it rained, but not on the promised land. 3 years. That is sustained use of faith for 3 years. And 6 months, and it did not rain on the earth, on the land. Then he prayed again, and the sky gave rain, and the land produced its fruit. Now that is an amazing thing. It rained, and it seems, and also, look at this. People overlook this miracle here, and also, because of the successive use of the conjunction and, you can translate that also or even. Then he prayed again, and the sky gave rain, and also, look at this, and also the land produces fruit. When is the land supposed to produce fruit? After you plant. And then there will be harvest. How can you plant if there was no rain? You will never plant. That's why it's called drought. So where did the produce come from? Now that is an overlooked miracle in the book of, in the story of Elijah. My brothers and sisters, if any among you strays from the truth and someone turns him back, let that person know that whoever turns a sinner, look at this. My brothers and sisters, if any among you strays from the truth, this is a believer who strays from the truth, a backslider. Look at this. Let that person know that whoever turns a sinner, a backslider is considered a sinner. Like he was never born again. Okay? From the error of his way will save his soul from death and cover a multitude of sin. So that carries on a different meaning. Now, there is an amazing application of known truths in relation to human existence and the life of faith. Again, it mentioned some of the things that are commonly experienced by a faith person. And so, James gives us a solution to these common scenarios, like a scenario and a solution. So this passage brings us back to the beginning of this letter. Now, if I have faith, listen to it. If I have faith, how come my prayers are left unanswered sometimes? Okay? This passage is the exact opposite of what happened in the beginning. No matter what you know about Elijah, especially because we just finished the topic on walking with Elijah. We may disagree with some of his style, but the guy is a man of faith. His prayers are answered. And he got discouraged at the end, but still his prayers are answered. As a review, what are some of the reasons that we discussed why prayers of the readers of James were not answered? Let's go them one by one. Number one, they lack wisdom. Okay? When you say you lack wisdom, you have knowledge, but you don't apply it. When you have knowledge and you can't apply it, you lack wisdom, because wisdom is the application of knowledge. So you may have all the head knowledge in the world. If you don't know how to put it to practice, you have no wisdom. Second, they ask for wisdom, but don't receive because they did not ask in faith. Okay? When you don't ask in faith, you will not receive anything. Third, They doubt while asking. So here it is. If you're asking and then you're beginning to doubt, you will not receive. Because doubt is opposite of faith. Oh, the next one. Double-mindedness. Some people don't really know what they're asking from the Lord. I illustrate you several times. Some women, when they're single, they say, Lord, give me a strong man who will lead the house that we will build. And so God gave you a strong man. And so what did the woman proceed to do? Proceed to weaken the man. You're double-minded. I thought you want a leader. I thought you want a man who can lead the house. And when the man says, let's do this, what did the woman say? No, we're not doing that. That's double-minded. You will not receive anything from God. You know, I keep reminding my wife, sometimes she'll tell me, sweetheart, what do you want? And then, what should we do? I said, let's do this. And then she proceeded to ask somebody else. Well, I was told, I'll hang up the phone. You asked for my leadership. Then after I gave you my leadership, you turn around and ask somebody else. What is that? Is this a joke? I'll hang up the phone. Because that's a sign of a double-minded person. Now, these are simple things. But we overlook this. We are really double-minded in a lot of things. I remember the first congregation that we have here, because this is a different congregation now from when we found. Pastor said, we just want somebody who will teach the word. Well, I thought the word they left. Double-minded. The Bible says they will not receive anything from God. When you are double-minded, you are unstable. Some people, they ask amiss. They ask the wrong things. They hear the word, but they do not do it. Now, there may be 2 or 3 more reasons, but those are the things that we discussed. When you fall under one of these things, your faith cannot operate. Okay? So in the case of Elijah, he was a man whose prayers were answered. He reeled because of discouragement and fear, but boy, he's very stable other than that. Now, there is another set of information here in this last passage of James that tells us why some prayers are not answered. Because some of the prayers that we pray, you're not even supposed to pray. You know, when I first came here, I was in the house of Ate Evelyn. Well, it was the parsonage, and Ate Evelyn staying there. And the pastor stopped by, and he was asking me about certain things. And then, after discussing, I remember the conversation, after discussing a lot of things, because we talked for quite a bit, he said this, well, for me, the only thing that I really like is prayer. It's all prayer. You know, I'll tell you this, that's ignorant. Because not everything is about prayer. If everything is about prayer, then we can just simply pray and everything will be okay. But we have been praying, if we will be honest to ourselves, we have been praying, but not everything is all about prayer. If everything is all about prayer, after Adam and Eve fell, he should have told them, you pray. No, he didn't even tell them to pray. Because their condition, the fall, cannot be solved by prayer. Okay? Some of us have had problems personally and within our family, and we have been praying. Hey, not everything will be solved by prayer. If everything will be solved by prayer, then this should have been just a book of prayer. This is now what I say, a situation or condition and response. So let's break this passage apart. If I'm going too fast, well, I am, because I want to finish this, okay? We can have question and answers next week. But look at this. First question, first condition or situation. Are you suffering? Okay? Are you suffering? I can ask the same question to you guys. Are you suffering? Okay? Am I suffering right now? Well, I cannot honestly say yes because I'm having a good time, you know. So, are you suffering? What is the solution? What is the response if you believe you are suffering? Now, here I'm talking about Christian suffering. Because I taught you this already before. Some suffering we brought it upon ourselves. If indeed you are suffering, Christian suffering, the Bible says you should pray. Okay? If you are suffering, you should pray. Now, suffering is a compound word, okay? I'm not going to give you all the Greek words. Useless, you know. But supposed to say suffering is a compound word that evolves in its meaning. It basically is you are bearing hardship, you're suffering. You're bearing hardship because of your faith. The hardship that you're going through is a result of living by faith. Okay? For example, if you're living by faith and you're living a righteous life, and your friends insult you. Okay, can you imagine this? Well, I can't even imagine this. Well, maybe I can. The pressure that our young people go through if they live by faith. Yeah. What? You're still a virgin? What's wrong with you? Well, there's nothing wrong with me. There's something wrong with you. But believers today are being insulted if they try to live a life of chastity. Why? The world is wicked. And so they will insult you. They'll call you abnormal. What you're already this age and you have no boyfriend, you have no girlfriend. What's wrong with you? No, there's nothing wrong with you. But the world will insult you and you will suffer for that. My wife was in Costco talking to her friend there, one of the workers. And she was telling her that I am her first boyfriend. She could not believe it because she's a backslidden Christian. Because she already transferred from one bed to another. And she could not believe her. Are you kidding me? Your husband is your first boyfriend? Yes. By the way, she had her first boyfriend after she got born again. Okay? After she got born again. But the wicked world right now will insult you and will mock you. That's why some Christian parents are even proud if their children are committing immorality. They're very proud. You know. One of my friends, a pastor, she was questioned by one of our common friends because I know him personally. He could not discipline his children. And one day he just showed up on Facebook. And this is shamelessness now. Okay, shamelessness. He's a pastor. And he showed a picture, very happy, on Facebook because he is now carrying his grandchild. So one of our common friends emailed this pastor and say, I didn't know any of your children are married. Well, none are married during that time. But his son impregnated somebody in sin. And now he's very proud that his son got a child. And he's got a... I'll be totally embarrassed with that. If one day Joseph or John or James perhaps, you be quiet, okay? Come to me and say, surprise! I've got a baby. I'm going to get my mallet and hit you over your head. By the way, that's not a figure of speech, okay? I'm really going to hit them. That is called a sin. You have a child out of wedlock. I know it's not popular today because the world is wicked. And so, I heard some Christians bragging about their sexual adventures when they're not even married. That is wrong, you see. But if you live right, the world will taunt you. The world will mock you. Even Christians with no integrity will mock you, you know. Well, you will suffer because of your faith. When you do what is right, then the world will mock you also, and even some Christians. When you find yourself in this situation, you're suffering because of your faith, there is one response scenario. You pray. Yeah, you pray. When you're suffering because of your faith, you pray. This is basically humbling yourself before the Lord, and you say, Lord, I'm doing what is written in your word, and you will begin to quote some of the Psalms. Look what the world is. Look what some people, they're mocking me because I love you. They're mocking me because I'm serving you. Prayer is the right response. Okay? And it's basically actually an individual prayer. You go to God. Look what the wicked are saying, Lord. Look, and in the book of Psalms you say, look at what those people who confess they have a relationship with you are saying. So when you are going through Christian suffering, you go to God, you pray. Are you cheerful? I think I can easily answer. I can easily ask that question. Are you guys cheerful? I can't even look. So, is anybody here cheerful? What is the response? You should sing praises. Huh? No, it didn't say you should pray. If you are cheerful, what should you do? You know why Christians can't worship? Is anybody here cheerful? What is the proper response? You know why some Christians don't worship? Nobody's answering anymore. Let me go back to the first. Okay. Is anybody cheerful? Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Okay. You should praise. You should sing praise, right? Okay. You know why Christians don't praise the Lord? They are not cheerful. Yeah. But you are cheerful. Now, by the way, being cheerful is not because everything is okay. Because you can rejoice in the midst of suffering. Okay? That is a proper Christian behavior. Even in the midst of suffering, you can rejoice in the Lord. And when you are cheerful, the joy of the Lord is in you, you should sing praise. It means that, what this means when you're cheerful is this. It doesn't mean you're laughing all the time. Where are you? You look abnormal, really. What it means when you are cheerful is you are in good spirits. You are encouraged. You are in a straight path. It's saying that, oh, I found a way. I'm not lost. You are cheerful. Even if you are having difficulties, you are cheerful because you are on the right path. Therefore, you are in good spirits. Then you should be praising God, not petitioning for anything. Okay? If you are suffering, you are petitioning. You are praying. Oh, but if you are cheerful, you are just worshiping. You are not asking God for anything. That's why when you are rejoicing before the Lord, it's very difficult to just keep rejoicing and then suddenly, Lord, please give me this. Please do this. No, it's just like you visit your mom or your dad. You have not seen that person for a while. I'm very happy, Dad. Can you give me something? Then you're making your dad unhappy. You know, when you are rejoicing, when you are in good spirits, you normally don't ask for anything. You know, I was very happy when we sent relief for our brothers and sisters in Ukraine. Listen, so I sent a couple of thousand in this organization. We course it through Operation Blessing, and 700 Club. This is a reputable organization. So they gave me a call. By the way, when we gave to this, I am very happy because we can just send. By the way, you send a couple of thousand, you receive a different letter. You know, it's an amazing thing. And so suddenly somebody was asking me, "Do you have any prayer request?" I was, "Sir, do you have any prayer?" I said, "None. I have none." But it sounds weird. You know why? I have no petition that time. I'm just cheerful. I am thankful to the Lord that as a church, we can help. Amen? Are you sure there's no prayer request? So now I'm being forced. I'm suffering now, you know. So I said, okay, pray, pray for this, pray for that, out of politeness. Oh, but when you are happy, when you are cheerful, you praise God. Amen? You don't ask anything for anything. By the way, the Lord likes that. I think it's quite insulting when your parents only sees you when you need something. By the way, some parents lang, kaya tumawag yung anak ko yan, may kailangan naman yan eh. That's a very bad thing, you know. But I think it's good that there are aspects of conversations and communications when you are just happy. Amen? So when you're cheerful, what do you do? When you are suffering, what do you do? Totally two different things, right? Now the third scenario. Are you sick? Well, I am not sick. Okay. I hope not all of you are sick. Are you sick? Now this is a different kind of sickness. Are you sick? You should call the elders of the church, let them pray for you. Now take this in context of James, right? Who calls? The sick. Not the elders. Okay? Well, some people think they're super special, so the elders should call. You're reversing the process. Are you sick? Call the elders of the church. Okay? Let them pray for you. Anoint you with oil in the name of the Lord. Now, there are two possible results that you can expect when this procedure is followed. The prayer of faith, oh, I like this term, will save the sick. The Lord will raise him up. If the sick person who called the elders sinned, they will be forgiven. Yeah, they will be forgiven. Now, there are different expressions in the Gospels of calling the elders. In fact, this is the only, I think James learned it from Jesus. Remember the four friends with the what did Jesus say? Oh, your sins are forgiven. Rise up and walk. Oh, it offended the religious bigots. The reason why that person is sick is because of sin. When a person gets sick as a direct result of sin, he should call the elders of the church. The elders will not call him. Okay? I know very popular right now is, oh, the elders making house calls. No, no, no. The elders don't make house calls here. It's the sick who call the elders. Is there a telephone in those days? How will he make the call? Huh? He sends someone. He sent someone. But specifically, He is calling for elders. Now, there are a few things that we need to consider in this condition response scenario. The sick person is the one who calls the elders. This suggests that the sin that this person committed has something to do with the person's relationship with the elders or the church. Okay? That's why you don't play with the sin. And this is where, in the past, I have been very strict about, hey, listen, don't just shoot your mouth against any of the elders. By the way, the elders are not the old people, okay? The elders, presbyteros, are the church ministers. You don't just shoot your mouth. Now, I'm not saying this because I'm your pastor. But you don't just shoot your mouth against the elders of the church. Okay? Now, by the way, the elders in this church basically is me, it will be John, it will be my wife, it will be Hansel, it will be Pastor Mars. Okay? We are the basic elders of the church. Not the old people, okay? Because, again, the word for elders is presbyters or overseers. So now when you call the elders, because your sickness is directly related to your sin against an elder or against the church. So now, you are tearing the church apart. Now, of course, you cannot call the church. You call the elders because the elders or people like me represents the church. Okay? Some say that this person has untamed tongue and had started a fire in the church. Possibilities are he badmouthed the ministers, all the elders. He badmouthed the church or caused division in the church. His words caused troubles in the church. Listen, a simple prayer will not help it. You tear that church. It's demon possessed. I'll tell you this. You cannot go to DJ and ask to be prayed for. It will not work. You cannot go to Jessica and ask for prayer. It will not work. You cannot go to Ate Evelyn and ask for prayer. It will not work. You offended the church. You see this? That's why there are certain scenarios that only prayers coming from the leadership, from the ministers of the church will work. Now let's examine this further. Because again, I tell you, a simple prayer will not help this person. By the way, this simple prayer, as I call it, is sometimes this is how we try to go around the fire. You started the fire, and now you will, hey, Brother Robert, can you pray for me? It will not work. It will not work. Hey, Brother Noli, can you pray for me? It will not work. Yeah. Because you started a fire in the church, it involved the leadership now. If I'll go back to the Old Testament, the scenario is the same as Aaron and Miriam and Korah. Moses got involved. Okay, Moses got involved. The reason why he called the elders is he is so sick also, he could not travel. Could no longer travel. He's so sick, he could no longer travel. Why? He seems unable to follow the instructions of Jesus. What are the instructions of Jesus on Christian responsibility? You go to the temple, you set your offering aside, and go correct the situation. Some people are just so stubborn and stiff-necked, they get so sick, to the point they could no longer follow the instructions of Jesus. So in this case, the olive branch is call the elders of the church. Oh, look at this. He should confess his sin to whoever he offended or where the untamed tongue lashed against. If you sinned, confess your sin to one another. Notice, elders, plural. Why plural? More than one. Why plural? What? Two or more what? Conspiracy. Why plural? Your sin is so bad, it needs witnesses. It needs, that's why it's elders, it's plural. It needs witnesses. This is now a sin that can no longer be kept private nor secret. It seems that the damage is done against the public. I was watching ESPN. It's talking about Nick Saban, Hall of Fame coach, if he retires, when he retires. He lashed out in public. And what he did is, the person that he offended, he called in private. I like what Dion Sanders says. Dion Sanders is a Christian. He said, you cannot lash out publicly and call privately. I can understand where Dion is coming from. He's a Christian. He's a born-again Christian. In fact, at one time, the co-hosts in ESPN could not say anything because he was talking about sports, and somebody says, well, who put these things together? And he said, Jesus. You're doing, I was even shocked because you're doing a sports commentary. Well, who put these things together? He said, Jesus. Because he's a born-again Christian. And he said this, you cannot lash out publicly and call privately. Now, that's deep. Because sometimes I think a presumptuous person will say something against ministers, against the church, go to Facebook, and think you can just simply say, I'm sorry, privately. Now, this is a public thing now. It caused division in the church. It hurt the church. Whew. Confess your sins. Now, confess your sins to another that you may be healed. Again, this is in the plural form. Confession is not one way. Therefore, I am convinced that because of the sin, more parties has been involved. For example, in the past, in case of adulterous relationships, I don't just ask. I have restored people in the past in the Philippines and here. If they commit adultery, I ask the adulterating parties not only to ask forgiveness from each other, families involved. Yeah, you've got to ask. It's a public sin now. Families involved. That's why a lot of people will never confess. Why? They're too proud. Will never admit. They're too proud. Okay? The confession is not just one way. More parties are involved. Families affected and has gotten sick. This is looking, the reason why it's elders, if you analyze it, especially when Paul is talking about the case in Corinthians, can no one judge you? There are sins that now requires mediation. Okay? Mediation. called the elders. Listen, I think the church is mature enough for me to say this. In terms of mediation, you cannot just call anybody. If the sin now produces fire in the church, you cannot just call anybody. Yeah. You cannot just call Jessica and say, let's do this together. No, 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 you cannot just do that. I mean, you cannot just call, hey, Brother Val. No, no, you cannot just do that. Now it involves fire in the church. Therefore, there is this mediation now. You see, James is a very small letter, but there's a lot of sin here that is being discussed. Now, the prayer of a righteous person is very powerful and in its effect. What is the righteous person here? No, we're talking about mediation here now, right? The prayer of a righteous person availeth much. What's the righteous person here? From this context, you're mediating. After you mediate, you pray. The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. How do you define righteous here? From this context now? Huh? You're mediating. You call the elders. What's a righteous person here? What? Define what is a righteous person here. You must think with me. You are mediating. You're serving as a judge. How do you know the judge or the mediator is righteous? You know this. He is fair and just. The moment you find a fair and just person in this mediation, the prayer of a fair and just person availeth much. That's why you come to him, he is biased, he prays, it will not avail. Are you understanding this? It will not avail. That's why when a judge in a normal court gives a ruling and the public feels it's not fair, it's not just, it's not effective. Right? It's not effective. Two women came to Solomon fighting. I gave birth to a healthy child. She gave birth to a healthy child. She woke up, she rolled over her child, and it dies. She exchanged our babies. Right? Remember that? Let's judge. And Solomon said this, split the living baby. The guilty party says, good, let's split it in half. So both our babies are dead. Oh, but the righteous mother says, no, 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 no. Give it to him. Give it to her. I want my child to live. And Solomon says, you are a liar. She is the real mother. The people praise God. Why? Solomon is fair and just. That's when effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. That's the context. Okay? Do you understand now? I like it, you know. I'm having my meditation on this one. I says, wow, that is a good revelation, you know. Because I like it. So it's after this that the prayer of Elijah is used as a reference point for this teaching. Elijah was a righteous man. No rain, rain. Oh, now Elijah brought the prophets of Baal and the Asherah in Israel. What was Elijah doing? And he brought God. What is Elijah doing? Mediating. How long are you going to go from left and right opinion? Mediating. How long? Okay, let's do this. Fair and just. The God who answers by fire, he is God. That sounds fair, right? That's why when he prayed, the rain came. Listen, if you're going to mediate between two feuding parties, because there are things like that, learn this. If you're mediating between two feuding parties, and doesn't hurt the church, it's not about division, and you are not fair, you are biased, your prayer will not be answered. Only the prayer of a fair and just person will be effective. That's why here it calls for the elders of the church. Now look at this. 5 minutes, verses 19 to 20. Okay. It sounds like the teaching of Paul in Galatians. Let me read it again. 19 and 20, so it will be clear. My brothers and sisters, if any among you strays from the truth and someone turns him back, let that person know that whoever turns a sinner from the error of his ways will save his soul from death and cover a multitude of sin. Now, if any of you strays from the truth, is still doing this hypothetical thing, someone should turn him back. Notice, turn a sinner. Now, this is big. The one asking for prayer sinned. Okay? He caused a fire. You know how you should deal with that person? Like a sinner. You don't come to that person saying, hey, brother, her sister. That's not a brother anymore. That's not a sister. That's a sinner right there. Okay? Now, that person has to accept that. That's why he humbled himself and called Paul the elders of the church. He is considered a sinner already, and he needs to be saved. And the word that was used here is really for salvation, like a person being born again. He needs to be saved because he strays away from the truth. The word is strays from the truth. What in the teachings of Jesus can you think of? Lost, found. What else? Lost sheep. Lost sheep. A lost sheep is as good as dead. So he rejoiced when the sheep was found. This is the equivalent here. Okay? Listen. When a person strays from the truth, it's a slow drift in Hebrews. That is not, you are supposed to treat that person, according to Paul, like according to Peter, like an infidel. What is an infidel? A person with no faith. So it's an infidel. An infidel is an unbeliever, right? A person with no faith. A person who strays away from the truth. That's not a brother. That's not a sister. That's an infidel. If you don't treat that person like an infidel, you will not be able to save the person. If a person is sick and I treat him like he's healthy, I will kill him. You know, in the Philippines, and I've seen this from my father when he was not saved yet, my mother is very upset because he'll be drinking, getting drunk with people with tuberculosis, you know. They have lung problem, and coughing. You know, in the Philippines, when they drink, they share one cup. And they don't even wipe it. They just keep pouring and they keep drinking. And so you are passing on sickness and disease. So my mother will be very upset. Someone will say, oh, sabi ng the doctor says I have no more lungs, you know. It's all ruined. And the fellow drunkards will say, baliwala yan. Here, drink some more. You are treating him like he is not sick. If you treat him like he is not sick, you will not help him, you will kill him. Our problem, when somebody strays away from the truth, we treat them like they never sinned. You know what we do when we treat them like they never sinned? It's like when we treat a person with lung cancer like he has no lung problem. Hey, have some more drink. You kill the person. That's why, one of the things that repulses me, I'll be in a gathering, and this person is already straying from the truth. And somebody will ask him, would you please pray? What do you would you please pray? You think the prayer of that person will be answered? You think God will listen to the prayer of a demon? It's not going to work. That's why us, when we are gathering together, be careful even whom you ask to pray. Because it's only the effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man that availeth much. Okay? The end. Well, this is how he ends it, so what's that? Praise God. Oh, it's 9 o'clock, you see? I beat it, Let's all stand.